All right, so I'm recording, and we'll start with our bumper, getting started with Python for test automation. Today, we're going to cover, PyTest. PyTest is the Python test framework, and we'll introduce PyTest, and then we'll go over the assignment. Oh, by the way, hi, Sujitha, how are you?
Hi, Aaron. I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing good. And let me know, Robert, if there are other people that need admitted into the class. I might miss it when I get carried away.
Okay, will do.
All right. So let's start off. How did you guys do? Did you try anything for the assignment, or was it overwhelming or not clear?
I was just confused on that very beginning, how to start with creating database. But the rest of other part I understood, but very beginning I still am confused.
Okay. So definitely for your first assignment, create a database sounds overwhelming. But I was deliberately using highfalutin language, and I didn't really mean create a database. I meant create a data structure, create a list that contains your users or a hash or whatever. And that's all I meant by that. But we may try and expand that out into a more full solution here as we go along. So let's introduce PyTest. The first thing we need to do is we need to install PyTest, right? So install PyTest is easy. You open the command line, and I'm going to check my Python version here. Okay, I've got Python 3.12, and you just do pip install PyTest. If you have Anaconda, you could type conda install PyTest. Some people on Windows don't have pip, but they have conda as the package manager. So we can see that installed PyTest, and we can do PyTest or PyTest-v, and it'll tell us what version of PyTest we have installed. We can do PyTest-help or -h, and it'll give us a whole list of things. What we want to do is we want to look at the beginning here. And so it says, I typed python-help, pytest-help, or -h. And then you see you just type pytest, and then optionally, one of these many options, and then the file you want to run tests against, optionally. But PyTest will actually look for any files. It looks for files with test in the name. It looks for functions with test, like test something or something test. And it looks for classes with the same category, test in the name. And it will automatically run those tests. But let me just show you briefly how we can... I've still got a Python version. Ignore that extraneous file. But I just want to create a file in VS Code, and I'm just going to call it test something, right? Test underscore something with an H .py for Python. And I know last week we only briefly talked about functions, but a function has a few things that you need to know about. It starts with def. Def is define function, and then you come up with a function name. It can be whatever you want. And then you have parentheses, which indicates the arguments, right? So you could have one argument or parameter in this case. Let's make a simple function called hello to illustrate this, right? We have a function called hello, and we've done this before. We just print hello world, right? Or hello Python. And if we run this, right, you can click this triangle here to run it here. And, oops, this has the wrong Python version. So what I need to do is I need to kill VS Code. I need to open it again with my correct instance of Python. Now, you normally don't need to do this. This is because I'm using pyenv to manage multiple versions of Python. All right, so reopening Visual Studio Code. And we're going to run this test. It doesn't do anything yet because it just defines a function, right? We've got the define or def keyword. We've got the function name. We've got parentheses, which are no arguments in this case. And then we've got the colon. The colon indicates this is the start of a block. And then when we have the colon, we have an indent. Either spaces or tabs are okay, but personally I like tabs. Most people in the Python world prefer 4 spaces. But anyway, so then what we can do next is we can call our function, right? So I'm going to call my function hello here. And it will run, and it says hello world at the bottom. Now, I don't like using my terminal at the bottom of my output because I like my screen real estate. So I'm going to flip back and forth here. Now I can just call Python test something .py, and now I just see clearly hello world. All right, now let's expand upon this, right? We want to do hello name, so we're going to pass name as a variable inside these parentheses to our hello function. So we define our function called hello, and we specify that it takes 1 argument, and we're calling that argument name. The argument is what you pass in as a variable. So I can change this world to hello, and then I can do plus name. And this is basic stuff we did on week 1, except we're doing it in a function. We run it here. Missing argument name. What did I do wrong? Oh, it says missing 1. I should read the whole message. Missing 1 required positional argument name. So I'm telling, when I define my function, I need an argument. It happens to be called name. I'm not passing it here. So what I need to do is I need to pass a name in here, and I'm going to pass my own name. So here I'm defining my function, and I'm defining it that it expects an argument to be passed. Here I'm calling my function, so it will execute my hello function, and I need to pass the argument, which in this case is my name. It's a string because it's in quotes, and it says hello Aaron here. And then secondarily, we can actually pass a variable, but I'd have to define the variable, right? So I'm going to create a variable called name, and I'm going to call this Robert. So now when we run this, it says hello Robert, and just clear that to be clear, and it says hello Robert. Now note here the variable name in our function argument is name. The name of our variable is name, and the name of our variable is also name down here. It doesn't have to be, right? I can call this first name, for example, and then pass in first name as a variable to my function. We run that, and it works. Hello name doesn't work anymore because name is not defined. First name is defined as a variable. All right, so now we have our simple function. We can write our simple test, right? We've been testing it right now, but it's not very repeatable as a test, right? It prints it out, and I have to look down here in my terminal output to see what's happening. There's a better way to write tests, and no surprise, that better way to write tests is called PyTest. Now, there have been many test frameworks in Python throughout the days. There's unit test. There was a test framework called nose for some reason, like the nose on your face, N-O-S-E, and PyTest, as well as several other alternate frameworks. Excuse me. But PyTest is the dominant framework nowadays, and it's probably the best, which is why it's won the hearts and minds of people, right? So what I want to do is I want to create a test. And the easiest way to do that is to just create a function. Remember, start it or end it with the word test. This is just a convention, right? I can call this something. And what I do in this function, I'm going to call it test something, just to not be confusing now. But what I want to do is I want to test something. In this case, I want to test this function I just created called hello. So what I do is I say hello, and I'm just going to pass a string in here, and I will pass in Sujitha. So what are we expecting as the output if we call hello Sujitha? Well, we're expecting to say hello Sujitha. So the next thing we want to do is, let me jump over here, is, well, we're running PyTest yet, but we want to use an assertion. So PyTest assertions are built into the Python language, and PyTest uses the built-in assertions. There are different modules that can extend PyTest to do assertions in different ways, but you just type assert and then you type an expression. You might remember from our previous lesson, an expression is a block of code that evaluates to true or false. So just quickly illustrating, I'll open IPython here, right? Here's an expression, true. True equals false is also an expression, but it is a false expression. 1 plus 1 outputs 2. It's not a Boolean expression, but 1 plus 1 equals or is equal to 2 does evaluate to true, or 1 plus 1 equals 3 evaluates to false. So these are all expressions, and you might remember where I did like is not in whatever, right? So I can say assert Arthur is not in, I'll create a list of knights. Lancelot, Galahad, Bedivere. Right, this is my list of knights, and it's true. Or we can assert that Galahad is oh, I've got a syntax here. All right, so I've got something wrong about the way I'd have to look up Python in. I thought that was the correct. If I did s in string, true. So now I'm creating a list here. You guys are going to have to bear with me. I'm an idiot. Oh, is. We don't want is. That's my problem here. So if I say assert Arthur not in my list of knights, or assert Arthur is in. So you see in this case, it did nothing when it was correct. When it was incorrect, it throws an assertion, or rather in Python terminology, it raises an assertion error. And I can make my list of knights, right? There we go. It remembers that from last week. And now I can assert Arthur assert Arthur not in Knights. And then if I do Knights dot append Arthur, remember single quotes and double quotes doesn't matter. Python will take either one. You just can't mix them up. Now, assert Arthur not in Knights raises an assertion error. Why is that? Because, well, our list of Knights includes Arthur. We just appended Arthur to that list. All right, so that's pretty clear. I just wanted to show you how assertions work, or the assert keyword. So when we test something, I want to assert hello Sujitha is equal to the string, right? So we're calling the function hello Sujitha, and it should return hello, comma, up here, Sujitha. If I can spell it correctly. And I'm going to flip over here, and now we want to look at this running tests in PyTest. All we have to do to run our tests, if they follow our naming convention, is we just type PyTest. Remember, you also need to have pip install PyTest before PyTest is available. It says it's already satisfied now. So I just type PyTest, and oops, I'm in IPython here. Let's exit out of that, and I can just type PyTest. And here we go. I made a mistake. I did it on purpose, though. Not really. But I expected, knowing myself, that I would make a mistake. So I wrote some code that doesn't do what I expected, but I'm a little bit confused because if outside of my test, I just call hello, and I run that. Oh, I've got to pass the name in. Let's use a variable. Name equals Sujitha. I'm probably butchering the pronunciation of your name. I'm sorry. And I run hello name.
That's correct.
Okay. Sujitha or Sujitha? Or is it a soft TH?
Sujitha. Sujitha.
Sujitha. So it's kind of a hard TH. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So we see here our output is hello Sujitha. But when we assert calling our function is equal to hello Sujitha, it's not working. Does anyone know why? Well, I'll show you why. Oh, I see a message. Oh, Robert's autopilot sent me a message. Do you want to skip clicking record? Okay, so the reason why, sorry for that, I'm a little absent-minded. The reason is we're printing hello, but we're not returning it. So rather than printing hello name, we want to return hello name. And we don't need the parentheses. We could leave them there, but we don't need them. And now we can run this. And oops, let's clear our history here. And it runs. It doesn't print anything out. Maybe I should do that instead, or also. So I'll do name. Let's get greeting equals hello plus name. And then we'll print our greeting. And then we'll return our greeting. So now we can both see it in our output. So I'm going to do Python test something first. And it prints it out. Now I can also do PyTest. And I can specify the file name I want. Or I can leave it out because PyTest will look for files with test in the name and functions with test in the name. All right, and so we can see this worked, but we don't see our output. So this is the next thing I want to show you is when we run our tests, PyTest captures our print statement. So print doesn't print, which is sometimes annoying, sometimes helpful. In this case, I want to see it. So in order to see what's being printed out, as well as our output from PyTest, because I want to visually verify that my assertion is correct, I add a -s. And S stands for, let me see, I want to look at the documentation really quick. Can't find it. Anyway, I'm going to run -s. I think it stands for suppress output, and I need to mark that as false. I know how to find out. I'm going to type pytest -h. I'm going to grep. Grep means to search for in the output. -s. That didn't work. But if I type pytest -h, there we go. Oh, I saw it. -s. Shortcut for capture equals no. Okay, that's S. So there's a good reason I didn't know what S stood for. I knew what it did though. It prints out your output. So Python or pytest -s and then whatever will actually print out your output, which is what I wanted to see here. The output of your print statements, or more generally, anything that goes to standard output. All right, so we're getting there, right? We've got a test that works. It's actually printing our output when we want it to. It's returning what it's supposed to return. And lastly, it's asserting. So we can remove that extra step where we're debugging our hello output. And now if we run pytest -s, it fails. What happened? Oh, I deleted name. I only wanted to delete hello name, which shows my output there. All right. It still prints this because I'm printing it in my function. Is that clear? If I remove my print here, it won't print. If I bring it back, it will print here. And then lastly, if I remove this -s, it won't print my output. Okay, that's it for -s. Now, there's something else that I want to show. And to do that is I need to write another test. And for this test, I want to test nothing. Nothing whatever. So now I can assert none. None is the Python type for a null or a nil. I really wanted to do a Monty Python bit about the knights who say nil. And then I remembered that nil is the Ruby equivalent to Python's none, which is a null or an empty variable. It means nothing. No surprise there. And so now, if I go back over here and I type pytest, it will run two tests. It does test nothing and test something, but test nothing failed. And why assert none failed? Well, because none evaluates to false. So going back into IPython, right? If I type none, it prints nothing, right? It's blank. If I do none equal to true, it prints false. But if I do none equal to false, it also prints false. But assert none throws an error, whereas assert assert empty string also throws an error. All right, none does not evaluate to false. Scratch that. Other languages, a null is equivalent to false, but not in Python. If I do if, here I'm going to make a variable name equals none. If name equal to none, print Clint Eastwood. I don't know if you guys get the reference to that, but Clint Eastwood is the man with no name in some old Western movies. So name equals none. And then if I put my name to equal to false, it does not print Clint Eastwood. But right here, if I do if name, it will not print. If I say if not name, meaning if I don't have a name, it will print Clint Eastwood. Now, put name equals none. Now name was equal to false right here. If not name, it will still print Clint Eastwood. So none and false are not equivalent, but they both evaluate to not true, I guess, is the way to put it. All right, that's all I wanted to show you there. So what we want to do is, I need to check what happens. Assert not none. So assert something is not undefined or something is not a null value. That's true. But none will throw an assertion variable. So now I can do my assert nothing. I assert not none. Maybe I can assert name is not none, or name not none. I don't think is not works by itself. What happens here if we do this? Name is none, so if I do assert name is none, it's okay if I change my name to something else. I get an assertion for name is not. And name is not none because name is Clint Eastwood. All right, I'm just learning myself here, or forgetting. So we've got two tests here. Now these should both pass. Oops, let's exit out of IPython, and then let's run PyTest. Uh-oh. What did I do wrong? Help me out, guys. You're smarter than me. Interrupted one error during collection. I could do name not equals none. Which is another way of saying assert that the name is something. All right, so we've got two tests passed. I want to see, right, this is a little misleading because we've got test something, but in our test we actually have two tests, test something and test nothing. Hold on a second, guys. What I want to do is I want to show what the tests are. Remember we had pytest-s, which shows our printed output. And we have hello Sujitha here, which is actually not in our test, it's in our hello function. All right, I need to look at the documentation to see that. All right, back over here. Oops, pytest-h through collect. Through grep collect. Again, you might not. Oh, only collect test. No, I don't want collect. Show. All right, so collect only doesn't execute them. All right. Oh. Fixtures. Oh, but what I want is dash v. I saw that the dash v option. So what I want to do is I want to do pytest dash v. And this shows me which tests ran and which test passed. If we change test nothing. Oh, there we go. A certain name is equal to none. And now it shows me test something passed, test nothing failed. And it shows our assertion error, which is the line we just wrote, assert that the name Sujitha is equal to none. And that's what I wanted to show you, is we can see the list of tests that passed and the list of tests that failed. All right. Now that we should have a basic understanding of using PyTest, invoking PyTest with different options, and writing assertions, let's get back to our assignment. Right? And I'm looking at the email I sent, and I apologize if you didn't get the email. I didn't capture everyone's email address at the end of the meeting yesterday or last week. Okay, so I said to create a database of users. Here, I'm going to grab this and paste it into my code editor, right? We'll just call it assignment 3, since it was firm. All right, so here here's your assignment for this week from last week. And I guess 3 is additional function. Create a database in quotes. That's what I meant is, right, we're not creating a real database that stores to the file system or that you can run SQL queries or anything else against. We're just creating a way to store a list of users, their name, age, and favorite color. Robin, Sir Robin, I should say, his favorite color is yellow, and don't get that wrong. Monty Python reference. And then we're going to use the data structures we learned to store the users. That was kind of the clue, is creating our database really means just picking which of these data structures we want to use to create our users. There's actually several ways you can go about it. I'll show you one way that you can do. And then we'll work on writing tests to get the user by their name, to find the user's age or favorite color given their name, be able to add new users and remove existing users. And now next week we'll write tests to verify that our database is working. So let's start by creating our database, right? Let's call it a Knightbase. Because we're going to create a database of knights, right? So to start off, I'm going to create my Knightbase, and it's going to be a list. I can create an empty list by just putting parentheses here. And then I can do Knightbase append, which I just did with my list, right? I can do Lancelot and Galahad and Bedivere. That's a good start. And then let's print our Knightbase. And so now we have a Python file that creates a database. It just creates a list, and we add some knights to our list. So let's go ahead and run this by doing Python knightbase.py. List append takes exactly one argument. Fine, we can pass in a list to add a list. But then I think we want to use join. So this is kind of tricky. What we're doing is we're joining two lists together. List has no object join. Okay, so back into IPython. I'm learning with you guys apparently. Create an empty list. And what I'm doing is I'm using IPython to get some help on my list. So I do dot and I hit tab. We can append, we can extend, we can insert. Is insert what I want to do? Let's see. Insert object before index. No. Append, copy. Let's look at append. Append object to so I'm appending a new list here. Wait. That worked fine. Oh, now I have a list within a list. That's not what I wanted. Insert. Now does insert, we'll do 3, 4. Does it insert the values or does it insert another list? Whoa. Oh, you need to pass the first list in. And then the index of where you want to insert it. So I can insert L, and I want to insert it at position 2. And then, of course, want to insert 3, 4. Now let's take a look at, let's print list. All right, so yeah, we've got 2 lists. All right, it's time to ask the internet. Nah, we'll just skip that step. I should really work out my examples beforehand, but I just didn't have time today. So I'm creating a list that has existing values. That's all I'm doing. And we can see it. And I'll clear my output here. Now I can do knightbase.append. And I can add Robin. And then I can print out my Knightbase again. I can print. All right. So now we've got a list of knights and we can add to them. But looking back at our assignment, we want to store a user's name, age, and favorite color. Well, we could create a list of lists, right? So we could do knight equals Lancelot. And we can store his age. He's 39. And his favorite color is, I think it's blue. I'll have to rewatch Monty Python and Holy Grail. And then we can do I'm going to actually start from scratch here. Knightbase equals an empty list. And then I'll do Knightbase append Knight. So I'm creating a list for Lancelot, and I'm adding him to the Knightbase list. I'm going to do the same thing, and I'm going to reuse this Knight variable. And I'm going to add Sir Robin. He's only 28, and his favorite color is yellow. And now, if I print my Knightbase, we'll have lost Galahad and Bedivere, but that's okay. So we execute this, and now we have a list of lists. We have Lancelot and Robin. Let's take a look at our assignment. We need to, okay, so we're saving their name, age, and favorite color. But we want to get a user by their name. We also want to find that user's favorite color given their name. Now, the first one is kind of tricky. Right, so I'm going to add one more. Bedivere is 44. His favorite color, of course, is purple. So how do I get someone by name? Well, I could Knightbase to get them not by name, but to get them by their index. I could say give me Knightbase sub 2. Right, and that's going to give me Bedivere. Remember, 0, 1, 2 index based. Or I could write a for loop. Remember, we talked about a for loop for Knight in Knightbase. Here we're going to delete those. We can print Knight. And we can see we can print each of them. Now what we can do is we can say if name is equal to Bedivere, colon, indent. If Knight, well, we need to do Knight sub 0. That's their name. We print Bedivere purple. So we could then print Knight sub 1. And now I have a function. Let's write some tests, right? So I'm going to def Knightbase test. Actually, I'm going to def test get favorite color. And the goal here is I want to get Bedivere's favorite color. So I'm going to do name equals Bedivere. So I'm starting off with some setup in my test. I'm creating a variable named name and assigning the value, the string Bedivere. And I want to create a function called getFavoriteColor. So def, define my function. Oops, I thought I had that in the clipboard. Def getFavoriteColor. And this function takes the name of a knight. And this whole for loop, right? This is how we do it. So now I do getFavoriteColor name, and it should print out Bedivere's favorite color, right? Oops, let's I need to kill that off. I've got too many terminals open. delete that, delete that. Okay. So we're calling Python. We're calling Knightbase. Oh, we are not actually calling get favorite color, and we're not calling test get favorite color. So let's start off by calling get favorite color here. We'll do name equals Bedivere, get favorite color name, passing the variable name as the argument to get favorite color. That's what it's expecting. We'll get back to our tests in a minute. And you can see here, I made a mistake here. It's 44, right? We're printing the first value, or the value at index 1. Index 0 is his name. Index 1 is his age. Index 2 is his favorite color. So we know what we did wrong, but let's write a test to do that, which is the way that we can do this in a repeatable way, rather than setting up our data and calling it every time we need to debug something. So we're going to do test get favorite color. So we define a function. It starts with test. We can call it whatever we want, but since we're testing the get favorite color function, it totally makes sense to do that. We take this stuff that we were calling directly in our Python code. We're going to call it in this function, this test function. And now what we want to do is we want to assert or prove or whatever that when we call get favorite color, that purple is equal to is our favorite color, or purple equals our favorite color. I kind of like purple is, and actually, well, I've got some typo here. Let's just make this function called favorite color because it's going to read even better. All right, so purple is the favorite color of name, or Bedivere. Now, we run this. We've got invalid syntax. Someone wasn't watching what I wrote. On line 1. Wait. Maybe is my... is, wait, clear, run. All right, so now it doesn't print any output because right now we created our Knightbase variable or database. We filled it with knights. We created a function called favorite color, and we created a test function called test favorite color. Now, in our terminal, in this case in the terminal in Visual Studio Code, right, I ran it and it returned my terminal, and I'm actually back in my bash or my DOS or whatever terminal. I think technically I have ZSH as my terminal. But now I can type pytest and it will run my code here. And the funny thing is it's going to run some other tests, right? It's testing something, which test nothing failed because Sujitha is not none. All right, we're going to fix this, but actually let's leave this in place. And I want to exit out of this. I want to do it in my big window here. So I'm going to type pytest here. And I'm going to add a -v so that we can see what's happening. All right, so we can see here we've got test something, test nothing, and we don't have Knightbase. The reason it's not running Knightbase, there's no test in the file name. Again, pytest by convention will look for files, functions, and classes with test either at the start or the end. So there's two things I can do. One is I can specify the file I want to run. I can explicitly say I want to run Knightbase. And we can see test favorite color failed. And it looks at our output. Test favorite color name assert purple is equal to, well, it says none. That actually kind of surprised me. What if I reverse the value of this? Oh, I know what else I did wrong. Here's the great thing about me. I always make mistakes, and it's usually a good illustration of what not to do. So, just like our hello function did not initially return the value, what we actually want to do is we want to do the same thing here. We want to return, and let's, having good variable names is very helpful for debugging and reading your code. So I'm going to do color equals night index 1. Remember, index 1 is actually going to be 44 or 28 or 39 based on the night that we're looping through. So this is our bug right here, right? Wrong index. And we want to return the color because we only care about the color. So now we weren't returning anything. Now we're going to return the color. And instead of just specifying night 1, which it's not clear what that is, we can run again. I'm going to run it over here. Now assert 44 equals purple. We went down a few sidetracks to see that happen, but now we have the test failing the way that we wanted and expected it to fail. Well, we know what we need to do to fix it because I already told you. We changed night sub 1 to night sub 2, and this should be fixed now. We hop back over here, and we do pytest-v, and it passed. And we can add a -s if we want to. Maybe S stands for C output. I guess we're not printing it. Let's print it. There we go. We see purple passed. And then we can change our test, right? We can change our name to Lancelot. And if we run our test again, we can see that it passed. Because we've hard-coded Bedivere here. Now here's the thing. Our test passed, and everything looks good, right? Yay, we made our changes. Our test passed. But we were expecting it to fail. So this is an important lesson. Make sure your tests fail if you're expecting them to fail. So a common thing to do is to write a test, make sure it will fail, and then see it fail by running it, and then change the test to make it pass. If you're like me and you make a lot of stupid mistakes, you don't have to think about doing that because I do it all the time. So now we're introducing some logic, right? We want to say if night sub 0, the first value in our night variable, is the name that we're passing into favorite color, then we get the color and we return it. Otherwise, we don't return anything. And we'll get an error, which we'll test in a minute. All right, so let's see if our test fails. Great, now we have assert blue equals purple. It fails. That's what we were expecting. And now we can fix our test. What's wrong with our test? Well, excuse me, I'm yawning. The color should be blue. And if we do that, now that we know our test failed and we know why it failed, when we fix it and it passed, we have more confidence that our test is correct. All right. Now this works. I can tell the hour is ending because I have an hour of voice and I start coughing. All right, sorry guys. I need another drink. Our test works, but this is a hard way to write it, right? We have to loop through everything, and we have to look for the index 0 and index 2. Maybe a list isn't our best way of doing it. And that's a rhetorical question because it's not. Another thing we could do is we could use a dictionary instead of a list. So in this case, we have knight, name, colon, Lancelot, age, colon, 39, and we can say favorite color, blue. And note here we're changing it from square brackets to curly brackets, as they call it. But what we're going to do is we're going to create a list of dictionaries. And these also need to be strings here, or they need to be some kind of value. They could be an integer, for instance. I could have 1 as a key, but our key needs to be a string. It can't just be an undeclared variable. See, I'm so good at illustrating problems by doing them myself. All right, and then we don't want to add. We do want to append. We want to append each knight. And we can do the same thing with Robin and Bedivere. And this is going to be a great lead-in to, what was his age? Was it 28? It doesn't matter too much, but his favorite color is yellow. And lastly, we'll create Bedivere. His age is 44 and his favorite color is purple. Now, we need to change our logic and favorite color. But let's see if our test fails. It does fail. Note that the key error. So this is not a failing test. This is an error, right? It's not an assertion error. It is a key error. And that is because, well, knight is not a list. It is a dictionary here. So we need to change our logic in our test. But we can do this by saying if knight sub name equals name, now we can say color equals knight sub color. And what we have here is instead of the first value 0, the second value 1, and the third value 2 by index, I kind of hope that this is cementing the difference between a list and a dictionary for you guys today, which it might not have been as obvious in our last lesson. But here we can refer to it not just by 0 or 1 or 2, but we have these named keys. One of them is name, one of them is age, and another one is favorite color. And I guess we need to do favorite color, not color. So we're referencing the knight in our list, right? We're looping through each knight in our Knightbase, and we're looking for a knight with a favorite color that equals, well, we're not looking for a knight by their favorite color. We're looking for a knight by name and returning their favorite color. And now, using name equals Lancelot, favorite color equals blue, our test hasn't changed at all. Let's see if it works. Now, again, I like to give myself odds on this. I'm sure I put a typo in here, but apart from typo mistakes or syntactical errors, I think my test will pass. And we run it. Now, I'm not shocked that my logic was correct. I am shocked that I didn't put any typos in. So we have a passing test. And we can also verify it as well, because we can say name equals Bedivere. And we can assert that Bedivere's favorite color of I'm going to pass in his name here instead of using name over again as an overridden variable. And we can assert that the favorite color of Bedivere is blue. We'll run PyTest again on this Knightbase. Using is instead of equals does not work in this case, which I already knew. What did I do wrong? Is there a knight? Oh, I misspelled Bedivere in my Knightbase. All right, now we've got our assertion error. Assert purple is equal to blue. Well, this is just an error in my test, right? And now assert the favorite color of Bedivere, and we'll do the same thing. We'll add Robin in here too, and we'll assert that Robin's favorite color is yellow. All right, last thing, and then we'll stop and talk. We run our Knightbase test. Oops. I didn't put Robin in, I put Bedivere. So now, instead of changing my expected value, like I didn't do up here with Bedivere when this was blue, I forgot to change my argument to the favorite color function. All right. Now we're cool. We've got 3 tests. It prints color blue, color purple, and color yellow. And we could even add a print this. And the reason I'm going to do this is just for visual sakes. So it just prints testing, right? Because the first line, it prints on the same line. It prints the file name and the function that's being exercised. So now we can see color blue, color purple, color yellow. And even more, we could print Sir. I haven't shown you guys format strings, right? If you print an F string, so I can do Sir, and then by putting that F in front of my string, it allows me to, again, we're overloading these curly parentheses, but this will insert the value in here. So I'm printing this favorite color is. So this is a way to format a string. Again, the curly braces is color. And I can actually say surname's favorite color because that's what's being passed in. So now we run this again and we can see the output of our test. Sir Lancelot's favorite color is blue, Sir Bedivere's favorite color is purple, and Sir Robin's favorite color is yellow. All right, so we went a little bit over. Let's stop there. Any questions or comments? No? Did I lose y'all?
I'm good, sir.
Okay. So what I'm hoping is, number one, that you understood the basics of installing and using PyTest, right? It's as simple as writing a function that starts with the word test or ends with the word test in a, right, I could rename this to Knightbase test and then run it without have to specify the file name. And now I can run all of my tests. So it not only runs my Knightbase tests, but it runs my test something tests. And just to output that so that we run all of our tests and we see all of the night tests, all of the test something tests pass. And we're good. When it says 3 tests, there were 3 test methods because there's only one test in Knightbase, test favorite color, even though it's doing 3 different assertions. All right, so using PyTest, very simple, at least for the simple cases. We'll learn more about it later. You write a method called test something in a file called test something or something test. I think the convention is to put test at the end in the file name and at the start of the function. There we go. Doesn't matter. Either one will work. And then the way you get a test that actually tests something, you use the assert keyword and then an expression that evaluates to true or false. This is the simplest test. There are other more complex things you can do in a test, but this will get us started. And then lastly, I hope you are better able to understand using lists and dictionaries by writing these tests with me today. So what I'll do is I'll post this code as well as the assignment up online, and then I will also come up with a new assignment for next week. But next week, we're going to learn about classes and object-oriented programs in Python. And object-oriented Python is really cool. And we will extend this type of test to test more cases. And we'll test it to make sure it will work the same by replacing our dictionary with a class we're going to call Knight. That's all for today. I hope you enjoyed it. And yeah, feel free to leave any comments. I'm going to post the recording on YouTube, and so people can watch it later then as well. All right.
Thank you. Thank you, Aaron.
Thank you, everybody.
That's it for today. We'll see you.
Goodbye.